I have kind of mixed feelings about Sergio Sánchez movies. I like The Orphanage a lot, but didn't really care for The Impossible at all. But this thing had Anya Taylor-Joy in it, so I was pretty much sold immediately. By the way, if you haven't seen The Witch yet, do yourself a favor, go watch it. Thoroughbreds was pretty good too, would recommend. But George MacKay is in this also, from Captain Fantastic, which was very good, and Charlie Heaton from Stranger Things, so not a bad cast, not bad at all. And they all do a good job. I can't really complain about the acting. Even the little kid was really good. Usually kids, especially in horror movies, just aren't that convincing. But this kid, Matthew Stagg, was really good. The movie is set in the US, I think in the 60s. And they speak English, but based on the production companies, I guess it's pretty much a Spanish production. Not that you'd notice it. The movie is about a family that moves into an old, secluded, gigantic mansion. Sound like any other movies? It's a pretty classic horror premise, because old houses are creepy, and you can do a lot of stuff with that. But this isn't really a regular horror movie. It's kind of more of a drama with some horror elements. I mean, I could see someone calling it a horror movie. There's a fair bit of that type of tension and mystery to it. But it's essentially all about the family, and that's really where all the tension comes from. And the fact that you don't know what's going on. In the beginning it has this sort of fantastical, almost fairy tale, storybook feel to it. You don't really know what's real and what's not. And it keeps you guessing. It doesn't really lay the cards out on the table until the very end. Well, at least it kept me guessing, you might be more astute. But it's a pretty well written movie. And it sort of misleads you without actually misleading you. It's very cleverly put together. And it looks good. And the direction is very effective. And I like that they didn't try to spoon feed you information until they did. There's a good hour or more of the movie where you kinda need to piece things together yourself and figure out most of it on your own. And then in 2 scenes they basically explain everything. That felt really clunky. They could have done better there. However, it had a few more aces up its sleeve, so it turns out the exposition wasn't as bad as I thought. When it comes to the horror though, I really liked what they did. They did a lot with very little, but I think they could have done even more with even less. That's kind of my biggest issue with this movie. It's probably a tiny bit too complicated for its own good. There's one aspect of it that I would have handled differently. Just that one. And I feel like the movie would have benefited from streamlining that. It's actually a pretty ambitious movie when you break it down. It tries to fit in a lot of things into 2 hours. And technically everything fits together. There's no real glaring plot holes or anything. I just feel like it could have been even better with just one tiny little detail changed. Because in the last half hour or so, I feel like there's one too many things going on, one too many layers. And that one specific layer made it feel a little bit too conventional. It let me down a little bit. Now there's some really great stuff in that last part too, which kinda makes up for it. But I was still a bit underwhelmed with how everything wrapped up. It's not a bad ending, I've seen far worse. But I'd say it's a bit of a mixed bag. Not completely satisfying, but I liked most of the movie quite a bit. There's some good tension and mystery. The whole set design is great. The atmosphere is gripping. It takes some twists and turns I didn't see coming, and the dialogue was especially well written. Pretty sparse, but well written. So there's a lot to like about this movie. It's really only that one thing that kinda bugs me, more than it should probably, because there's way more good stuff in this than bad. Overall, it's a good movie, but it could have been really good. Would I recommend it? Yeah, go check it out, or don't. I'm not your dad.